Hi.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, a lot of my friends also have joined, I can see. Okay, when are we supposed to start?
I'll introduce you, ma'am. Hi, guys. Welcome to our next session. We have Miss Devika, ma'am, a researcher, educator, and artist specializing in cultural studies, currently serving as a senior research fellow and teaching associate at Christ University. Postgraduate in English literature, currently working on developing artistic expression as a powerful means of engaging with cultural phenomena uh, and fostering a meaningful discourse. Matt, over to you.
Thank you so much. So I thought today I thought we will actually discuss a little bit about Yakshi, the image of Yakshi in the cultural landscape of Kerala. Okay, I should tell this before even before I start. So this is a subject that is very close to me because, like, as a kid, I was raised on so many Yakshi stories. I used to read a lot of Yakshi stories and Yakshi movies and all that. And when I was in college, one of my professors, she was actually my mentor for my MA project. And even she discussed with me about her research, which was actually on Yakshi. So I started reading a little bit more on Yakshi and how Yakshi conceived in our cultural imaginary of Kerala. So I thought we'll discuss a little bit about that. And also, I tell this even before I start. This is not a very intensely done research. This is just a consolidation of my ideas. What have I learned while watching or while listening to, or even while reading something on Yakshi. So this is not a very intensive research that I'm going to talk about. It's just a consolidation of few ideas. Okay, and also um, see, since we are talking about a mythological construct or a folklore construct, I know that we have many limitations because we can't really rely on all the resources that we get. So such a research actually requires uh, a collective effort. It should be actually a collective effort that where people come, people join together, and where put in all that they have researched or put in all their ideas. So that is how I think we should like move forward with this kind of research where we are discussing a mythological construct and all that. And obviously, I'm sure every single Malayali would have heard of Yakshi at least once. Not even once, if not even once. Like most of the Malayalis or Keralites would have been raised on Yakshi stories. Like would have been raised on, like you might know, because as kids, I don't know if you did the same. I remember as kids when we used to go to my cousin's place, there was this pala tree where like we used to believe that there is a yakshi there, and then at night we would be so scared, and then we would like do matches. Like we would put on a game where you can, if you go touch the pala tree and come back, you'll get a 5-star game also. So I think yakshi, it's not an alien concept for us. It's a very personal, or it's more terrifying kind of an image for us. So I thought we'll actually discuss a little bit. Okay, let me ask you, when you talk about the factors that decide or that describes Kerala's cultural milieu or cultural landscape, what do you think are the most influential factors that actually define Kerala's landscape, cultural landscape? Anyone, like, what do you think? Politics, obviously, politics is there. What else do you think defines Kerala or defines the cultural structure of Kerala? What would be the factors? Okay, okay, I understand. So, okay, when I talk about Kerala's landscape or cultural structure for that matter, two things I believe that matters the most or that contributes the most in deciding or defining Kerala. First is mythology and religious politics. Let's leave politics for that matter for now. Let's look at mythology and religious history. When I say mythology, it's not just Ramayana or Mahabharata that I'm talking about here. It's all the folkloric traditions combined, all the Malayalam scriptures or folkloric traditions that um, construct itself, that combine itself to form the cultural landscape of Kerala, right? So, don't you think Kerala is a place that is ruled, or at least till the last century, Kerala was a place, or is still a place that is ruled by superstition beliefs. Beliefs as in mythological beliefs, religious beliefs. Don't you think that, like, we as a community, we are still ruled by beliefs and superstitions that obviously has its roots in mythology and folkloric traditions of our place? It definitely is, right? Sacrifices that recently happened in Kollam, I guess. So see, from human sacrifices to like looking for a proper time to step out of your house, I would say Kerala is a place that is dominated, that is ruled by mythology, superstitions, belief, and all of that. And it's deeply rooted in religion also, religious history, that we can't decline the factor or we can't deny the factor that religion forms all these beliefs and superstitions. But still, I would say mythology and folkloric stories has such an importance in our cultural history, right? Or in our cultural landscape, in our cultural space. So keeping that in mind, don't you think that it's only logical or it's only natural that we discuss or that we study these mythological stereotypes or folkloric stereotypes or religious stereotypes? It's only natural that we study more from where these stereotypes come from, right? Like or Rakshas or even the images of gods or goddesses that we imagine in our cultural space. It's only natural that we learn about all these entities, all these constructs. Now that we agree that we dominated by religion and mythology and superstitions and even beliefs, right? So, and that is why we'll be talking about Yakshi today. Okay, so let's. I wanted to know, how would you perceive a Yakshi? How would you describe Yakshi? Or when I say Yakshi, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I would like anyone can. No, Shaun, what scary. What is it that comes to your mind when I say Yakshi? An exceptionally beautiful young woman clad in white sari, like wandering around the trees at the darkest hours of night, right? Like often magically levitating above the ground, and often who has the the what do you say, the powers of apparition in apparition and all these. So she like this lady, this beautiful, exceptionally beautiful lady, she bewitches and she ensnares young men. She traps like into like, and she'll drive them, she'll take them to her abode above the panna trees, right? Palm trees, panna trees, and then she'll drink their blood, and she'll even eat their body except for the nails and hair, only to be found the next day. That at least according to me, that is what the image or the word Yakshi suggests to me. At least that is what is in my head. And I think it's largely, this image is largely formed through literature, obviously, through stories, folk stories, folkloric accounts, oral stories, and also I think like films, right? Cinema, films, all of these, right? Yeah. So, and okay, they are these stories are actually, or the images are actually embedded or in it's actually embedded in our mind through stories of Yakshi, through films of Yakshi, through films that narrate Yakshi, right? Right? Yeah. And okay, and when I say oral stories, or it has been passed down through generations to us. We don't have any first-hand experience. We don't have any first-hand accounts of a person who has seen Yakshi, who has encountered a Yakshi, right? We only have these accounts through oral traditions that have been like passed down the generations to. And it's high time. I think it's actually when we hear these stories, when we listen to these stories, it's only natural to have a curiosity to know the origin of Yakshi. Isn't that right? We might be curious to know how this image like what do you say emerged, or how this image originated in the past. And from whatever I have read, or from whatever I have known, whatever I have listened to, I have actually found three reasons for the emergence, or three reasons that contributed to the emergence of the concept called Yakshi, or the what do you say, the image or the figure called Yakshi. Okay. So and also throughout my childhood, I have listened to and read countless Yakshi stories, watched an equal number of Yakshi movies, all of these. So I was often like, I was very curious. That's why, like, and as I said before, this is not based on an intense research or an extensive research as such. So there might be many controversial ideas, there might be very contradicting ideas. But from all my readings, what I have understood is that three reasons primarily contribute to the origin, through the or to the like what do you say, the evolution of the figure called Yakshi. And the first reason that I would say is the emergence of feudalism in Kerala, feudalism or the feudal Nair laws, emergence of the feudal Nair laws in Kerala. It has contributed a lot, because I'll tell you why. So feudalism, it came with a neurotic insistence on the subjugation of women, and also marginalized for that matter. Like people like untouchables, or at that time, untouchables, or even Dalit people, and women, predominantly women, were by the aristocrats or the feudal lords. I don't know if you have seen the song called Neeli. Have you seen? There is this Malayalam album song. I think it's a video. It's called Neeli. It's a song where it actually shows the feudal, like exploitation girl who is dragged through the fields and all that, with all the other people of her community watching the what do you say, the feudal lords. They rape her and like do all the sorts of things to her. So see uh, that is what I meant by exploitation of women, and also the marginalized, but women to a greater extent, women to a larger extent. So I have read this that the emergence of the concept of Yakshi could be due to the fact that women were exploited by Nair feudal lords so much in the past that these communities, the lower class communities, they story that okay, if you kill one of us, we will emerge after our death to avenge our death, right? So, like in most of the Yakshi stories or Yakshi movies that we have seen in the past, Malayalam movies also, it shows the same. If a girl is violently murdered, or if she is raped and murdered by someone, she will rise out of her death to avenge the murder. This is one pattern that we have seen throughout history, throughout all the Yakshi movies, all the Yakshi stories, right? So it could only be possible that the lower caste people of Yakshi to scare off the Nair feudal lords from exploiting them and their women. Um, there are many similar stories, I guess. Um, if you can come up with a movie story or something, like there is this very similar pattern where higher caste people, they exploit women of the lower caste, and they emerge from their death to avenge their murder. So that might scare off the Nair feudal lords from exploiting women any further. So that could be one of the possible reasons of this of the emergence figure or image called Yakshi. That could be one of the reasons. Again, it's very contradicting by itself due to many other reasons, but we will not go much deeper into that. If you're doing an intensive research on this topic or this idea, you can actually delve deeper into this aspect. And the second reason that I would say is, it's very interesting also. It is the emergence of the fears of highway travel. Okay, back like 100 or 300 years back, let's say, or even before that, centuries back, when the highways were not like, or highways almost did not exist, right? Connecting places, connecting distant places, people used to walk, right? When like mostly like when there was no such proper means of transportation, people used to walk from places to place, and it might often take days or even weeks to reach the destination. So such situations, there is a chance, or there has been accounts also, there has been like recorded accounts of people being murdered, or people being robbed by highway robbers. And interestingly, see this, obviously this was in Kerala, this happened in Kerala, and interestingly, there is this very famous book. I'll just check the book's name. Yeah, there is a very famous book by Debbie Felton. It's called Monsters and Fears of Highway Travels in Ancient Greece and Rome. In this book, she suggests the same. So, in ancient Rome and in ancient Greece, when people used to walk by foot from place to place, from two different places, highway robbers and like thieves, they used to rob people and even murder people. People, like other people who who came out alive of these accounts, these robs or these theft attempts, they would describe this incident in an exaggerated sense to their people or to their community, that okay, these robbers, these monsters attacked us, these monsters robbed us. And in this book, Debbie Felton actually says, over time, these thieves or these robbers, they came to be monsters and then later human monsters. Okay, human monsters as in humans or monstrous humans with supernatural powers. So these robbers turning into monsters, turning into supernatural monsters, that happened over time. Similarly, it might have happened in Kerala also, back when highways or back when roads were not proper, or when there was no proper means of transportation, when people used to walk by foot, there might have been accounts of people being attacked by robbers. And these accounts might have been exaggerated to what do you say, to a rate where they explain these human attacks as monster attacks. And obviously, when you say monster, or when you say monster, yeah, monster in Malayalam context, it becomes Yakshi naturally, because Yakshi is the most terrifying, monstrous being that we have ever come across, right? And don't you think it's also interesting the fact that, okay, let me ask you, where do you think Yakshi attacks you in in old stories or accounts? Which place does the Yakshi really attack you at? Does she come and knock your door and then attack you like that? No, that never happens. Mostly in the Yakshi stories of the past, it's when a traveler is going through a forest at night. When through the forest, it's at that point when the Yakshi attacks him. Right? It's mostly that. In many tales of many stories of Kalyankata also the same thing happens. So she attacks her and mostly men. It's mostly men. So she attacks men in lonely roads or deserted places at night. So these could be exaggerated accounts of the highway robbery or highway theft attempts that happened back in the past. It could be. This is one second reason where this Yakshi story, one reason from which stories might have actually originated in the past, like exaggerated accounts of being attacked or murdered or being robbed by uh, robbers, country robbers. Okay, that could be a second reason for the emergence of this concept or the emergence of this figure of Yakshi. Now, and I think the obvious reason could be the emergence of Christianity in Kerala, or the spread of Christianity and the spread of the church stories in Kerala. And this would be a very controversial opinion also. Church or Christianity, when it's spreading through nations, through places, Christianity usually has this feature or characteristic of subduing all other religions under it. Okay, it happened in the West also when, yeah, this was actually my MA thesis topic. So, so when Christianity spread to England, the pagan religions or the Celtic religions that existed there, it actually got suppressed or it actually got subdued under the spread of Christianity. And there is this, yeah, in Da Vinci Code, both the book and the movie, you can actually see it where they show Christianity suppressing pagan religions under it, like killing of people of pagan communities. And one of their major strategies was to turn the pagan gods and goddesses into evil images, into like so they like once Christianity spread to Europe in the first century BC, the pagan religions existed there, or the Celtic religions, nature worshippers that existed there, it got suppressed under Christianity, and Christian church actually propagated these pagan gods or goddesses as demonic entities, as like servants of the devil, so that no one would follow that religion anymore. No one would follow that particular religious tradition any further. And when Britishers came to India, also the same thing could have happened. There are many, this is one chapter in additional, right? Okay, so there is this poem. It's called Migration, I guess. Uh, Migration or something. Yeah, I don't remember. So, okay, in this poem also, it's the same. Okay, it's called Grandfather. Sorry, Grandfather, where the poet talks about how his grandfather was forced into being converted to Christianity. Okay, so leave that. Okay, anyways, the same could have happened in Kerala also. The same could have happened in the southern part of India or India through the spread of Christianity. They might have suppressed the uh, religion of Kerala or the indigenous religions of Kerala under the banner of Christianity. That could also be possible. And why I said this could be possible is is due to the reason that Yakshis or Yakshas actually worshipped in the past, in Kerala's past. We have actually recorded accounts of it. Many religious texts have mentioned that Yakshas or Yakshis were worshipped in the past as tutelary deities or indigenous deities. But now, when you say so, this is actually my question. So, how does this deity or indigenous god is called Yakshi got converted into a very scary or a monstrous kind of a figure in today's milieu? Yeah, Kadamatathu Katha. Yeah, same story happens with Kadamatathu Kathanar also. So this Yakshi called Neeli, Kalyankata Neeli, who could not be tamed by anybody else. She couldn't be tamed. Hindu priest also, like many people try to tame her, but she could only be tamed by Kadamatathu Kathanar, a priest, right? And so like through the thread the stories of church or thread of Christianity in Kerala, there is a possibility that the tutelary deities or indigenous deities of the past were actually converted into demonic entities so that people would follow Christianity more and not the demonic religion anymore. That could be a possible reason. So these are actually the possible reasons that I have researched and I have kind of came across. Um, yeah, so like the first one was the spread of Nair feudalism in Kerala. The second one is the spread of the highway fears in Kerala or South India as such, and also the spread of Christianity. These could be the possible reasons of the creation of the image called Yakshi, or the image called Yakshi, who was a deity in the past, who was actually a goddess in the past. She got deemed down to be a monster in the present. And these could be the factors that led to her being converted from a goddess to a monster. These could be reasons, is what I'm saying. Okay. Now, this reason and history of Yakshi aside, let's leave it aside. But I would want to actually talk about the power of Yakshi, or what do you say, the authority of Yakshi. Okay. Let's leave the killing part or monstrosity part of Yakshi aside. Otherwise, how would you discuss the part of this image? Don't you think she is extremely powerful? Don't you think this image is it could represent a woman who is sexually liberated, who is independent, who is powerful, who has every single authority of her own self? Don't you think that, leaving the murder part aside or leaving the killings part aside, don't you think that is also how you can describe the image called Yakshi? I feel like she is an entity, she is a woman who can do everything, every single thing that women of respectable families can't do. She can wander alone at night. She she can climb the trees. She can laugh out loud without anyone controlling her. She can express her sexuality without anyone controlling her again. So basically, she is not controlled by any man, right? Right. Isn't that also a way with which you can actually describe Yakshi or define Yakshi? The factor that the image called Yakshi, she terrifies the masculine community, right? The masculine community or the masculinity is terrified or is threatened by Yakshi's power or Yakshi's authority, right? Because if you see Kerala's landscape, even contemporary landscape, there is, I would say, there is this insistence on the subjugation of women throughout that is there. There is this neurotic insistence on the subjugation of women. And in fact, Lalitambika Andarjanam, I guess, she has actually, I don't remember the book's name, but it describes the idea called ideal femininity. How do you describe an ideal female of Kerala? Very soft spoken, very gentle. She lets herself be in control. That used to be the ideal description of women. And Yakshi is everything that stands against this ideal feminine or ideal womanhood ka concept, right? So I would say Yakshi could also be a symbol of liberated femininity or the liberation of sexual identity of a woman. That could also be how you can actually explain, or that could also be how you can describe Yakshi, is what I feel. This is almost everything that I wanted to discuss. And also, yeah, this very important thing, another thing or interesting thing is that closely associate Yakshi with other monstrous feminine stereotypes of the West also, very interestingly. And we would, okay, have you heard of the concept called femme fatale? Femme fatale? Yakshi, I would say Yakshi is the ideal. I haven't come across any femme fatale stereotypes that matches the description so much. Yakshi, I would say, is the ideal femme fatale stereotype. Femme fatale is actually a woman who, okay, basically it's Yakshi only. So a woman who is very beautiful, so it kind of lures men into her traps and kills them off, or even like deceives them. That is a femme fatale stereotype. And there are many Western concepts, or there are many Western stereotypes that could. Medusa is also an example of femme fatale. Monsters feminine, female as monsters stereotypes. And Yakshi could be closely linked with all these femme fatale, monsters feminine stereotypes of the West, like sirens or Medusa or Morgan Le Fay. that has emerged in history. Yakshi should be closely aligned. So I feel it's also important to study much more, or it's also important to investigate much more into the reasons that contribute to her humanized or being monsterized. Just like Medusa, do you know the story of Medusa? She was actually, I think she was a nymph and Poseidon, Poseidon fell in love with Medusa at the altar of, at the temple of some goddess. And this goddess cursed Medusa. She made Poseidon fall in love with her. So this other goddess, she cursed Medusa, and that's how she got the snakes for her hair, and she got cursed that any man who looked straight into her eyes would be turned into stone again. So another femme fatale, another monstrous feminine stereotype, and Yakshi closely associated with all these femme fatale stereotypes or monstrous feminine stereotypes. So that is why I think it's very important to study our own cultural stereotypes, the Yakshi. So, if you're since I am a researcher, I always think from the research perspective of things. So that's why, we should actually, and even Chudel for that matter, in the north, there is this concept of Chudel. I think there is this movie Bulbul presents the image of Chudel. So I think we should study these cultural stereotypes more, because this is something that affects our cultural, or affects our consciousness as a community. It affects our communal consciousness. That is why it's very important for us to look into all these stereotypes, or to study all these cultural stereotypes, to delve more into their details. So yeah, this is something that I have grabbed across from all my readings and all the things from my past. So yeah, it would be good to see someone studying this further. Yeah, so that's it. I hope it was of some information. I know it's not too much. I hope I entertained it, or at least this information was of some use. So every time you watch a Yakshi movie, or every time you read a Yakshi story next, think of her as a different personality. Think of this Yakshi from a different eye. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful session with you about Yakshi and all. So, anyone has any questions about our today's? Okay. Okay, I'll start. Um, I have a question, ma'am.
Mhm.
How is modern literature, in a sense?
Howard? I didn't hear.
How has Yakshi influenced modern literature?
Modern literature.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say literature so much, but films definitely. Trajectory that you can actually see, in which Yakshi films have evolved over time, right? What is the latest Yakshi film that you saw? Bhargavi, this one, Tovino movie.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Is she a very brutal force? Is she a very violent force?
Not really. I didn't really feel like that.
Not really violent,
Yeah.
right? She has more human attributes than monster attributes.
Yes.
And don't you think it's so much different from, let's say, Pagalpuram, or what was this another movie of Divya Unniyase Yakshi? I forgot the name of that movie. What was it called? Do you remember? Pagalpuram for that matter. The Yakshi is a proper monster in Pagalpuram, right? When she turns Yakshi, she is very violent. She's a very brutal force to be reckoned with. She's very violent. She is aggressive, and that image has changed, right? Much more humanization of Yakshi now than monsterization, right? So there is this obvious trajectory in which Yakshi movies have evolved, and literature not so much, because I haven't come across any Malayalam literature about Yakshi in the near future. Have you? There is this, I think it's by Bashir. Neela Velicham is a Yakshi novel, and there is this story called Yakshi by Malayatu Ramakrishnan. Even in that story, Yakshi is not a brutal force. She's not a violent force in Yakshi also. So in literature, not so much, but in film, there is an obvious trajectory of the image of Yakshi.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay, I guess we don't have any. Okay, ma'am. Thank you for joining us with this session and had a wonderful conversation. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.